Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the Relistenables. As always, myself, Stephen Moustaris, and for the third time now, Walter Cerrato, my cousin, the man, the myth, the legend. He called me yesterday or texted me yesterday. He was like, hey, dude, let's get one in. And I mean, maybe I was the one that texted you. But seriously, regardless, I know we've been circling this one a little bit, and I couldn't thank you enough for hopping on here and just helping me out, man. I really appreciate it, for real. You have no idea.
I'm grateful to be here, man. I'm looking forward to this one. This should be a good one.
Before we even announce too much of it, thanks for having us at your crib again.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
really like the layout's nice and beautiful.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
This album might be, numbers-wise, the biggest album we've done so far. And it's between, Good Kid, Mad City was pretty big, but it wasn't nearly as big as good old Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yeah. And
that one was huge. That was real fun for us. So to introduce this one, I guess T.I. vs. Tip was pretty big. I was shocked at how big it was when we first, because when we re-listened to it.
T.I. had a nice run there.
Yeah, he really did. And honestly, he even shows up on one of the remixes, but we won't break it down. Mm-hmm. But to bring this in, released on August 30th of 2005, literally almost 17 years ago, which is just mind-blowing. None other than Kanye West, his second debut, or not debut, but his second studio album of all time, late registration. Mm-hmm. And man, there's so many ways we can go with this. But real quick, like we were talking about before this, I at least want to just kind of give people, the audience, kind of a nice little just a background on it, and get them a little more familiar how big this album really was. And it debuted number one in the U.S., sold 860,000 copies in the first week, which when we get into it, that's nothing compared to what it goes through. But just to get all the numbers out and whatnot, for the first week, the peak of where it might have been on a chart, just album wise, it was number one in the US and the UK and Canada, made it number one, and this is just 2005, just any week, and this is the highest peak. So number 2 in Ireland, number 3 in Scotland, number 4 in Norway, number 6 in all of Europe. This one blew my mind here. Number 7 in Greece, which, shouts, I'm Greek and Italian, so that's dope. So, this is the first time I've seen Greece pop up on any of these albums. Number 9, Switzerland. It's debuted, or not debuted, but it peaked at number 10 in Japan, and number 11 in New Zealand, Denmark, and Sweden. And then also, again, it made top 20s in Australia, Germany, Finland, and then top 50s in France, Netherlands, and Belgium, which is just fucking mind-blowing. That's literally...
this is 2005 we're talking about, but I think it just speaks to the... I don't know if it's a word, but the westernization and how big American pop culture is.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's not like this album was released in different languages.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So
year-end awards, which this one was pretty cool too. In 2005, number 11 in the U.S. I only went with top 20s because I'm telling you right now, there were so many top 50s that this thing landed in.
Yep.
But number 11 in the U.S. This one blew my mind at the end of 2005. Number 14 worldwide in all charts by the IFPA, which is the International Federation of the Phonography Industry, which I thought was real freaking cool. Okay. And then in 2006, it still stayed at number 38 in the U.S. And then 2007, it wasn't actually in the U.S. top 200, but it was in Australia. It was number 37. And then the decade end, just for everybody that knows, 56 overall in the U.S. out of the top 200. And just in 2020, Rolling Stone had it number, I think it was 117 out of the top 500 albums of all time. Doesn't matter what genre.
Of all time.
Of all fucking time. And then, real quick too, 4 times platinum in the U.S., 3 times platinum in the U.K., 2 times platinum in Ireland and Canada, platinum in Australia, Denmark, New Zealand, and all of Europe. And then it even was gold in Japan, which blew my fucking mind. And it's over 5.4 million copies sold. And to go into it real quick, just to shout out to Kanye, because I know 2022 right now, Kanye's all over the spot. We got him right now fighting with Kim K, trying to fight Skeet Davidson, he's calling him.
Did you see the text messages?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Which, we might throw him up there. Wow. But the one thing that we can never, ever, ever forget is Kanye is a musical genius. At least in his early 2000s when he was peaking. And I really wanted to shout him out too, because he probably might never see this, but you never know. But if you ever do, Kanye, shouts out to you, because he's one of the only artists at this time that wasn't like diving all into mixtapes. Everything that he ever did was putting all his work into an album and having a huge presentation, always having like a nice little like story to it, which we'll talk about in the 4 skits that we listened to in this album. So like that's one thing I just really admire about him, is that he really does take the work and make sure that we actually get a full presentation, because how many artists do we talk about all the time that just, if it's at 2 or 3 songs out of the 15 song album that's good, it's a decent album.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a story or anything. Like maybe a couple of the songs are, but like he literally kind of gives us an entire layout. And like it says, late registration for college and whatnot. So,
well, he's one of those artists that you can tell he's very intentional and probably a perfectionist when it comes to putting together an album and how it fits together. Like I think Eminem's in there too. I mean, there's a lot of artists that probably are, but when you go back and look at his albums, you can tell it's telling a story. There's continuity with it. Now this one, so College Dropout, this was the follow-up to College Dropout. It was almost like a trilogy of
100%.
Between College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation, his first 3 albums, which I didn't really, because I went back and I was looking at his studio albums. He's at 11 now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Kind of
ridiculous.
Blew my mind he's had that many. But to me, personally, this was peak Kanye. And Kanye is, say what you want about kind of like what his public image now is.
Yeah, 100%.
And like he probably doesn't have as high of an approval rating now as he did then.
Yeah, definitely not.
And I think he's like a classic case of the celebrity. Maybe he didn't handle that as well as some others have. He definitely has a little bit of like that God complex.
Yeah, yes, he does.
And you can talk about that in his later albums, like Yeezus and things like that, where it's there's this weird spiritual religion thing going on with Kanye that's always kind of been an undertone to his music. But all that being said, his later albums aside, which still were really good, these first 3, especially this one, Late Registration, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this.
You can put this, and honestly, everybody, it's opinionated for everybody. If you don't like rap, you're not going to say this, but if you like music and all genres, like, you can put this album up with any of the greats, and it's just up there with, maybe even better, you know? Because like we were talking about, Dr. Dre used to do a really good job at always like setting a storyline and having some good skits and whatnot. Snoop Dogg, I mean, clearly all West Coast, but the one thing I really wanted to shout out Kanye as well, because we almost kind of forget now because he's such like a fashion icon, or thinks he is. Like this was Kanye, who was like a trendsetter at the time, because we're used to the 50 Cents at this time, the Eminems, like the baggy clothes, the gangster dressers and everything. But he's out here in Louis Vuitton, Gucci, rocking the Jordans still. Like he was a little more fashionable. He had those like
the Louis Vuitton Don.
Yeah, exactly. And then the funny like sunglasses that he made popular. Yeah. And then, I mean, clearly he goes into what we know now, which is kind of out there, but it was definitely cool because now, I mean, that's all we see nowadays. People always
he was the backpack
Gucci.
rapper.
Exactly, 100%.
He looked like, I mean, he really...
Always had the backpack on, like you're saying.
He walked right off the college campus, like, into the booth. And Kanye's one that... So my understanding of Kanye was he was a producer before he ever started rapping. And obviously he had the accident where his mouth was wired shut, but he was a big-time producer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, wasn't he a producer for Jay-Z? And then he just started messing around rapping a little bit, and they were kind of like, you got something here.
Yeah, he started gaining that confidence. Like, like, not to even be funny, not to bring it up, but I just did 2014 Forest Hills Drive yesterday by myself because J. Cole had no features on it. And it seems like all great artists at a certain moment of time finally gain that confidence and finally like stop like putting themselves in their own hole and like holding themselves back by like not believing in themselves. And this is where Kanye, you can fully start to tell this is where Kanye's getting that cockiness and like just has all the faith in himself for being who he really is, or like who he thinks he is. And like we said, he's a little more spiritual now and whatnot. And this is probably the tail end where he's not even really speaking too much about like God and whatnot yet, until like clearly in 07 when he loses his mom Donda, which is really what gets him there. But which we'll talk about because he has a nice song about her on this. But like, this is, I don't know, like we said, we re-listened to this, like came up with it and whatnot, and I'm happy that we did because, I mean, I listen to a lot of these songs, but to listen to the like 12 that I don't listen to on the regular was a nice little like flashback. And for the first time in the Relistenables history right now, I shouldn't say in history, but like for the major part, Kanye brings all his features he has on this, like he really brings them out. And they finally give you some great fucking verses. I know we spent a lot of time on T.I. versus Tip talking about how like Jay-Z missed the spot. Nelly was on there, shit all over it. Like, not to shit on these guys, but like, seriously, he's got a slew of people on here. Like anywhere from Jamie Foxx, Adam Levine, Jay-Z, Nas, Common makes a few,
Lupe Fiasco.
Lupe's debut, like his like real big time debut of being on a feature or whatever, and then clearly he goes on to do his thing, which talking about backpack rap, like he really chases that as well. And then Consequences on here. Paul Wall. Shout out to Might. Honestly, we'll talk about that.
We're gonna get into that one. I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, but so seriously, you get a lot of the features really come in, I thought, and I don't know, it's just really cool. And like clearly, like we said, there's 4 skits on here. Like it starts off with "Wake Up, Mr. West," which is D-Ray Davis, the comedian, kind of impersonating Bernie Mac, which they did all over The College Dropout, and it's just kind of just revisiting that and. Like we always say here, that's one thing I do always like to start on here at the Relistenables is the intro, because for us in the album, it's what sets the tone. Like it's literally what are you gonna hear the rest of the time? And for a 41-second skit of D-Ray Davis sounding exactly like Bernie Mac, like clearly talking about how Kanye is like, I knew I was gonna see you again, like talking about he's sleeping in class.
You smoking my grass, Kanye.
You sleeping in my class? Wake up, Mister. And then clearly leads perfect into heard him say, but it's just the flow of the album was amazing as well. And there's so many songs that have a chance of winning awards here, and we're really going to break them down. So, like, what are, like I always ask, I like to ask some fun questions here. Like, re-listening to this in 2022 after probably not listening to all the songs in the last couple years, because all the music we got nowadays.
At least the last couple of years.
Yeah, even more, honestly, but you never know. We have... You and I definitely.
For me, at least.
I was gonna say you and I though we're pretty good at like having our phones on shuffle and like, always traveling back to like older music, because I'm not the biggest fan of newer music now, and like no offense to them and everything, but like other than my J. Cole's and Kendrick's and stuff that I truly like, and like Logic had his moment there, but like even new Kanye I'm not the biggest fan of. Not to even go too far ahead from this album, because I am trying to stay back in 05. But the one question I do want to say, like, re-listening to this in 2022, maybe like. What are some of the songs that maybe like kind of stuck out to you in a like crazy way that you were like, oh my god, even like I'm sure there's a bunch, because that's where I was at too.
It was interesting going back through these songs. I mean, once again, the nostalgia that you feel with some of these songs. So like I was a senior in high school when this came out, and you really think about like I really think there's something to music that you hear for the first time, and music that you connect with when you're in high school. I think there's just something about that time that it just, for whatever reason, like I was listening to it the other night in the car, and I can't tell you what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I was saying every single word of a song that I probably haven't heard in like 8 years. It's amazing how our brains work that way. But I'm not really answering your question. So to answer your question about what songs stuck out, there was definitely an element of like, oh man, this song was on here? Because after a while, especially an artist puts out a few albums and things like that, you kind of get the cherry pick. I know I do that. Like I'll cherry pick, 2 or 3 songs off this album, 2 or 3 songs off this
100%.
album. And after a while, you kind of forget which one was on what album.
Yep.
So that was it. Like, and I'm sure we'll get into it. Like, I forgot the Game was on here.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that feeling when I saw the track list and I saw he had a feature with the Game. How excited I was. Obviously, Gold Digger, probably the biggest song on this album.
Oh, easily, hands down, easily. It's not even. Do you
want me to get into my feelings about that song now, or should we wait?
Fuck it, let's get into it. Because I
am not a fan of that song.
I'm happy you say it. I mean, so okay, if you go back and listen to it in 05 for the first time, and it's not 17 years later where the radio fucking killed the song. Like, there's always that one song on every Kanye album or any big album that, like, because I was talking about it on just yesterday when I said the J. Cole album, Wet Dreams, the one that's always like losing his virginity. The radio murdered that song. Like, they just take a song, and it might not even be the radio, but it's just hearing it so many times, it just gets outplayed. And like, it's literally the only song on this album that's a radio hit, 100%. And Well, I guess you can maybe go Heard Him Say, but I rarely ever hear that one on the radio just because Kanye actually, he cusses a lot in that song.
And Gold Digger is that song that I think is the most, it's his most popular song, right? When you talk about like spanning like generations, like
yeah. Oh yeah.
And the level of humor, and not just that song, Kanye does like with the skits and everything. He's always got a good level of humor in his albums, which I appreciate.
1000%.
But and then he can also go back and he can talk about like some of the political stuff. He can talk about, he talked about in this album, and he's talking about in other music too, about how don't trust the government. The government gave us AIDS. The government,
crack music.
Yeah, like
Diamonds from Sierra Leone.
Yeah, he can talk about some pretty heavy stuff. He can talk about racism and how, the African American community hasn't always benefited from that. There's no secrets there. But then he also has a level of humor too, and like Gold Digger to me is a funny song. It's like there's a lot of truth to it, but it is a funny.
100%.
Like my parents love that song.
Yeah, that's when you know.
And maybe that's not the reason I don't like it, but I never really messed with that song from day one. I was kind of like, It has that throwback vibe where it kind of feels like it's a song you'd hear at like a jazz club or like a blues club in like the 60s.
I'm happy you bring that up, not to cut you off. I'm happy you brought that up because he actually debuted this song like for the first time ever at a slam poetry event. And it was the 18 years verse, the second verse, the 18 years.
Yeah.
And then on the 18th birthday, he found out it wasn't his. That whole part. He did it at a slam poetry event with no music and everything in the back. So I wish there was like video evidence of that because it would have been really cool to see how he would perform that. But it's real cool you say that because that's exactly where he actually like debuted it. And I don't know, it's into just a little fun fact about this song. It was actually meant to be for an artist named Shauna. She was supposed to take the Jamie Foxx verse, but they couldn't get her in time. And it was supposed to be from a woman's perspective. It was supposed to be talking about how like she would never be with a broke person, And so like that part might have made it a little different. But the only thing that I think is really cool about this song, not only is it the reason he's going to get the buzz and stuff for this album, but Jamie Foxx, this was actually his like debut in singing and everything because at the time he was acting.
Okay, and I thought so because he did.
Well, he talks about it on the Joe Rogan Experience. As funny as it is like
because I was trying to go back. I was like, wasn't this like Jamie Foxx's like first big song?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he was on College Dropout, wasn't? Didn't he do the workout plan, or am I thinking of someone else?
I mean, I think.
Or was this?
They also did record this before the album ever came out, so I think because I was just
on the College Dropout? Or am I losing my mind now? Keep talking. I'm gonna pull this up.
But the only reason I thought that this was his debut song that he ever had, or I think at least like actual big feature, because if he was on the College Dropout, I'd believe it. But I didn't think.
No, he was not.
I didn't think he was. Okay. He was talking to Joe Rogan about it a couple years ago, and was talking about how there was like he was like hinting because
he wasn't on Slow Jams. He was on Slow Jams.
Was he on Slow Jams? Well, never mind.
See, I can't play it because
clearly we'll get kicked off. But okay, so at least from his point of view, and at least talking to Joe Rogan, he was talking about how he was just finally getting some fame. His stand up was kind of really taking off. His acting was starting to take off clearly, and he was like starting to float it out there to Jay-Z and a couple guys. It was like, hey, like I can actually sing, and I really want to at least like if you guys ever need a feature. Here you go. And Kanye heard about it through the grapevine and called him up and said, hey man, I got the perfect song for you. And then that's how it ended up working out. And then that took off for Jamie Foxx's like singing career. But like you said though, I'm happy you did say that you're not the biggest fan of this song because I mean other than it being sampled by 3 different songs, which I thought was cool, is I've Got a Woman clearly by Ray Charles is the main part. And then Another Story to Tell by Mace, which I thought was cool in 1999, that track, and then the Bump and Bus Stop by Thunder and Lightning in 1974. So, because I'm definitely going to shout out samples because it is sampled filled in this entire album. So, but it's really cool too because to go off the samples and get it out of the way now, I re-listened to every single sample that like came up because I found this really cool website. It says who sampled what or something like that, and it pulls out all the songs and I listened to all of them. And this is the genius of Kanye. Like he takes like the smallest part of a song. Like, clearly other than the Ray Charles part. But, like, he takes the smallest part of these songs that you almost don't even hear, and he just mixes them all together and then makes them just remasters. I mean, it's so impressive. Because it's not like the average person who samples it, it takes basically the entire thing and maybe slows it down or speeds it up. Like, he just completely makes it his own. So I thought that was really fucking cool. But yeah, to go back to the song, it is pretty funny. It's like not as serious compared to the rest of the album.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would definitely say that as well. Because you and I would like to, I can't speak for you, but at least knowing you through all the years, like I would say we would like to consider ourselves, you know, true lyricists, like a fan, like are like huge fans of lyrics and huge fan of actual like true hip hop in our opinion. That's not necessarily the radio hit. So yeah, that's why I'm happy you brought that up, because definitely clearly other than the fact it got him fame and it's his biggest song ever numbers wise, which we'll go into. It was the one that's like only one I skipped because I've heard it 50,000 times when I'm re-listening to this. So
this thought just crossed my mind because you mentioned Jamie Foxx and they sampled a Ray Charles song. He definitely has that sound.
Yeah.
So wasn't it like a couple years after this that he gets the Ray Charles biopic movie?
Yeah, I think it was.
Does he get that role without this song?
That's a good question.
I mean, does Jamie Foxx like blow up to the level he does? What was his big song? Like, Blame It on the Alcohol? Like, wasn't that like his big...
one, and then that one was the biggest one, I would say. Blame It on the... But he has that one with Drake that's really slow. I'm blank right now. I don't even want to try to think of it because I'll just sit here for a while. But he has that real big one that's real like slow and like a sadder one. But Always Your Type, or You're Always My Type, or something. I always go for the certain type or something. Okay, yeah. Which it was pretty big because it was finally like his main song, and I remember hearing it on 106 in Park because it was number one for a couple weeks. Okay. And it was mainly him. So yeah, but yeah, between the two, and then Slow Jams even too is such a huge song.
See, we got to go back. We can do that. We can look at that later. Was he on Slow Jams? I don't know. If put it. I could just see it like at the bottom now. Like,
I mean, we will.
Walt's wrong. Walt's a dumbass. He was not on that song.
Yeah, because I just remember Twisted.
When you listen to so much music over the years, it kind of blends together. But all right.
No, 100%.
So what's next? What we got?
So we're gonna break down a lot of these with the awards because a lot of them deserve them. Mm-hmm. But like some of the songs that really like stuck out to me, other than skits, clearly, you know, the cool part was like shouts out to Common, because that's one person I definitely need to go back in time and re-listen to a lot of his stuff, because I'm pretty familiar with Common, but I know he's got a lot of respect in the music industry, and he's all over one of my favorite albums of all time, Man on the Moon 1. He literally narrates it for Cudi, and then I'm such a big fan, and actually shouts out to Cudi too, because on Into Cudi he's got the whole song Bees for the RZA from Wu-Tang, and I really like when artists like, you know, put their ego to the side and let another artist have an entire song. And number 7, My Way Home, is only performed by Common. There's no Kanye in it, and other than the skits, it's the only part that Kanye is not in it. Yeah. But you know, he does produce it like crazy. He produces every single one of these songs. But I thought Common, like on that song, I know it's only 1 minute and 43 seconds, but like I thought Common, that was one of his best songs ever. And when I looked into it, it was actually a leftover song from one of his albums. Like, he was supposed to be on his album Be, just Be, Be Who You Are and all that stuff. Yeah. It was supposed to be on there, but it didn't like match like the vibe for the album, so it got cut. And Kanye heard it and was like, man, this is way too good of a song. I don't want this to ever lose, you know, just be lost in the, you know, lost tapes and stuff like we used to say on some of our pods. But I thought it was really cool that he had Common come on and it really takes over. I thought Common was amazing on that song. So I don't know how you felt about it, but and then even songs like I guess Roses I knew, but like Bring Me Down featuring Brandy, like you kind of forget Kanye is pretty solid on that, but Brandy I was a little like whatever. We'll get into nitpicks clearly later on, but like Addiction, you know, you forget about a lot of these songs, and then even like We Major, you forget that bitch is 7 minutes long, like holy fucking shit, and then, but like clearly, and then I don't know, it was really cool to see like. Because like there's so many songs in here, they're so memorable. Like out of the 21 songs with the two, because Diamonds from Sierra Leone, the original version, and then Late are the 2 bonus tracks that we do. And that's actually another thing I want to go into real quick, dude. I remember. Tell me if I'm wrong here, because you probably have a better memory of it. This was the end of 5th grade for me, going into 6th grade. Like it was the summertime right here, because August. I would always listen to these albums when I was playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, so like I'd always have them in the background. Yeah. I swear when I got this album, I got it edited clearly, like we talked about before. Yeah. My mom would only take me to Kmart. Shouts out to Kmart. But like I remember listening to it, and when it comes up, the actual first Sierra or Diamonds from Sierra Leone, I thought it was the normal version, and the bonus track was the Jay-Z remix. Or was it always the...
Okay, that's how I remembered it too.
Dude, I swear, and I tried looking it up, couldn't find anything. Apple Music, we both got it.
Apple Music
it's got the remix, and when I was re-listening to it first time, I was shocked that Jay-Z was on there. Because I'm like, wait, I thought that was the bonus track.
No, I always remember hearing the original that was just Kanye, and then, I could have swore that showed up on the album
I'm
first.
happy I'm not dumb or whatever, because I know I was younger.
It's kind of like one of those, what was that Sinbad movie that people swear, never happened?
The
Genie movie.
The Genie one, yeah, 100%. They thought it was Shaq, even though I think Shaq does do one. But.
No, I'm really glad you said that.
Was it Mandela effect?
Too,
That's what it would be, a Mandela effect.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
It's like, wait, no. The remix with Jay-Z was definitely a bonus track.
I swear it was, dude.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into that because the remix at least is one of the greatest. I'm not even gonna get into it yet.
We'll definitely talk about that.
It's so fucking good. But that another shout out for both of those versions. I'm so big on when artists switch up their verse and like give a whole new outlook and everything, a whole new layout for the remix version. And that's where we hear in just normal Diamonds from Sierra, which we're just going to call it Diamonds, just make it easier. But his whole verse is so much different, and I loved it. I really, regardless of what part you're listening to, it's just amazing, and we will dive into that more. But, I'm happy, because I swear I was listening to it, I was like, man, I swear the remix wasn't the one that was on that, actual track.
I was right there with you.
Okay, so I'm happy to hear. And if people remember it any different, I mean, you can comment or whatever, but,
you asked me too, initial, reactions going back. To kind of go back to your last question.
No, I'm happy with it.
And going back and re-listening to it, how soulful it sounded, almost like a soul album.
Oh,
if that makes sense.
100%.
Not that I'm going to sit here and act like I'm an aficionado of soul music, but I definitely got that vibe. I think more so than maybe any other Kanye album. Kind of has that some of the beats and things are a little slower, and it kind of sounds like something you'd hear in church or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'm actually happy you brought that up, because all these samples are literally from the 50s, 60s, but they're all soul music, and when I listen to them, they're super slow. I'm not gonna lie to you, I really think he takes I think his mom and his grandma, who was a huge inspiration for him, I think that they were huge on soul music growing up. I think that's all he listened to. So, because he's got so many samples on here from songs, and I'm sitting here like, holy shit, Kanye's a genius for grabbing from, because we're so used to especially new artists like The Game, to bring him up because he is on the album. A lot of his samples are from 80s rap, 90s rap. He uses a lot of samples that
We'll go use a pop song or
something. Or Travis Scott. Anybody. Honestly, anybody does it anymore. But that's why I've always loved Kanye's ear for music, because he's always listened to some crazy shit, some orchestra
just
type
thinking
stuff.
Outside the box.
Yeah, and that's I'm happy you brought that up, because that was the number one thing I was looking at when I was listening to all the samples. I was like, holy shit, man! This guy definitely knows what he's doing. That's why it's so out. And not to be funny too, the College Dropout. That's what the difference is for here. It's he's being a little more experimental. And that's what the big all the critics were saying at the time was he really took a chance at starting something a little newer. We were talking about, kind of setting the way for everybody. The backpack rap, changing, samples were huge, and it's soulful. He's got a couple of songs that's sounds like a choir's in the background. Yeah. And so that's a really good observation, because that's what I've looked up when I was doing it. So before we get too crazy into awards and stuff, because it's gonna take a little bit, is there any of the songs that maybe we might not bring up? Let's bring up the skits, because we broke, Phi-Broke. We got that.
So it's a fraternity.
Yes.
It's this fraternity that you visit a couple of times throughout the album. It's called Phi-Broke.
Yep.
And so the premise is essentially it's this group of brothers that dedicate themselves to a lifestyle where they have no cars, they have no clothes. What's the first one? If I go outside, I'm the only brother that's got on jeans, because we only have one pair of jeans or something like that.
It says we're sharing jeans,
yeah,
and if I go outside, I'm the only one with the clothes on. And that's...
And then, as it goes on, they confront Kanye, because, he's actually, eating meals every day, and, driving a car.
He's got new shoes.
Yeah.
And they're we'll walk your ass out of here. Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe I'm reading too much into this. I don't know if that, like, Kanye did those skits as like a commentary on, like, African American life and how, you know, maybe the opportunities aren't there for African American young men like they are for maybe other people, like white people, and, you know, tough economic times, or it's that, or is it that's like the life of a college kid?
It is
like you're broke.
Yeah, for real.
When I first listened to it, like, obviously one's a little deeper and a little heavier than the other.
Yeah.
When I first listened to it, I definitely appreciated that they're kind of like making fun of college culture.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that,
yeah, 100%.
You know? And making fun of that whole entire, like, fraternity thing that, you know, I was never in a fraternity, so it's probably easy for me to have this stance. But, you know, because there's a lot of people who were fraternities. But how did you take it?
So when I originally took it, I just thought it was more... Well, one, just so everybody shouts out to the dogs, but they're trying to talk too. They got an opinion. But D. Davis is the voice of all of them, which, just so people know, is a huge comedian. If you guys don't know him, then fuck you. Just kidding, jokes. But I took it originally as like he was first going to college, and this was just my perception of it. It was like he was first going to college, and then it was showing like, cause that one, I think it's like the third skit is when he's like, do you remember eating cereal with a fork just so you could save the milk? Like, I thought that was hilarious. But like it was like slowly just showing. Like, yeah, like the broke life of a college kid, and especially a black college kid, no offense, like people coming out of Chicago like Kanye was, and like maybe not being the most fortunate.
Yeah.
And then by, like we saying, by the fourth one, they call a secret meeting and they call out Kanye for like, what are these, brother? New shoes? And like making fun of him and stuff. And like, I thought it was more like the build up of Kanye's career and like how he said fuck school. And he was starting to drop out of it and everything because he was starting to produce, he was starting to make money elsewhere, and starting to chase his dream, because like, it's kind of like a whole thing is I think like people get stuck in their own ways and everything, and so yeah, I think that's what I personally got. It was like his build up of like him becoming successful and finally reaching fame outside of college and not necessarily needing a degree, which I mean he goes on, I think it was 2018 or something, he finally like graduated for his mom and everything, but like still that's what I personally took it as. But I could also see it being a mix of like him and D. Davis getting together and like he's like, hey man, I know you're a comedian, I want some funny stuff here, like maybe let D. kind of just build a little story.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's what I always kind of took it as. But yeah, like I always, when I think of college, man, I think of your broke times. Like you're spending all your loan money on your food and everything. You're not necessarily, you know, being the smartest with it. So, and I can definitely speak of that. I mean, I only went to community college, but I remember seeing everybody in the lunchroom spending. Like, you always had the same card and always spending all their money in there. And I remember hearing people would take their money out of the bank or whatever and buying shoes, like going on a shopping spree. Yeah. Like, I'm sure you know a bunch of people like that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I always took it as.
Yep.
Just the build up. But yeah, I think it's a mix of everything. I think if anything we can honestly think of, because I don't know, and also too, like, if you're like, not to be funny, but with the name of the album, Late Registration, like usually the guys that are like registering late, like they're definitely ones that maybe don't have the head on the shoulder as much, not as dedicated to and motivated to actually like follow through school. So yeah, I think that was what I took it as personally. So
okay. I see, but how many artists can like have these discussions on like how you interpret their music? I think that just kind of speaks to the genius of Kanye West. Is that, I mean, who's to say either one of us is wrong?
Exactly.
You know, is that
I think maybe
you can look at it a little deeper and maybe a little more cynical, or maybe a little more realist, or you could just look at it for it's just surface level and it's supposed to, you know, be lighthearted, make you laugh a little bit, and we'll both be right.
Yeah, 100%. So any kind of, and not to be funny either, but to go to the first skit, which was "Wake Up, Mr. West." He's sleeping in class. Yeah. And he mentions it in a couple songs where he like promised his mom he'd go to school and finish school and everything. So like, I think it was like a huge thing for him, showing that, you know, I didn't need school and I figured out everything myself, which is powerful because that's what Kanye is. But to go real quick off your point too, because I know I don't want to like dive too far ahead because we're not breaking down like newer Kanye albums, but do you think his like drive and everything of like trying to be a perfectionist at all times, do you think that's why we might see like the I am a god type like feel he's got, where he's like nobody can tell him shit, like he's always acting out, like he's always just like kind of in his own, I don't know how to explain it, like, cause we don't know Kanye technically, so this could all just be a big like publicity stunt.
I think it's a gift and a curse.
Exactly. I think it kind of drove him mad.
I think like, his talent and his natural ability to make music is also, you could say, like this burden, and it's been part of his downfall too. I don't want to say he's gone through a downfall, but he's definitely like we kind of talked it off the top, is that he's like an enigma. I mean, when you think about like who Kanye West is and what he represents, and like you said, like what he's branched out to become, he's way more than just an artist now. And yeah, like what he sees himself as, how, like, I don't know if there's too many celebrities that I can think of, maybe ever, that have changed so much from like what my perception of them was, or at least maybe what the public perception of them was when they first came onto the scene, to where they are now, not even 20 years in.
Well, I'm happy you bring that up too, because like, let's look at it this way. Let's look at the guys that started out in the low and like the top dogs. We're talking Dr. Dre. He's almost like quiet. You know, like they get the money, like Diddy, Jay-Z. They make that money, and then they almost just like, they let their aura speak for them. You know, like all their work speak for themselves. And that's why you don't hear Jay-Z talk a lot. You don't hear Diddy talk ever. You don't hear, like, honestly, Master P even, because he maybe not the greatest musician, maybe not the greatest rapper of all time, even though he had I think it was like a triple platinum album. But his record label, he's take over the world. You know, so I think those type guys like Dr. Dre, who you can honestly throw, like even Eminem too. Like even though Eminem always drops music and everything, he doesn't always like just stay in the media and everything. And so for Kanye, I would always put him in that level of people, and he's the only one that's out there every single day in the headlines. Like he's the only one that still feels like he's got to like vindicate himself. I don't know how to explain it. Like he's like the opposite almost. Like usually you make the money and then you get the fame, and then you kind of just like say, all right, I'm just ride out. Like he's gonna keep going and going, like clearly, but not to cut you off.
Well, you absolutely stay. You kind of transcend just when you start dating a Kardashian.
True.
You go into this whole other level of fame and notoriety, whether you want it or not. You know, so he had this super high profile celebrity relationship. He did the thing to Taylor Swift. What was that?
Drunk
was
as
that
fuck.
the VMAs?
Yeah.
When he went up and like stole the mic from her.
She had the best music video, and he's like...
He said, no, it should be Beyonce's award, whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, it's stuff like that where sometimes... Now, I'm not saying that there's similar things, but when you do these kind of things, and obviously I know he had, like, some public outbursts and things like that, and he's been outspoken. I mean, there was the whole entire... Well, like, what about him, like, wearing the MAGA hats?
He ran for fucking president. Like, oh my God.
Supporting Donald Trump. Like,
like
you really gotta... It really makes you wonder, like, wait, you're talking about growing up in the Chi, you know, growing up in Chicago, very poor. Like, did you lose touch with your roots and who you are? Because those people aren't rooting for, they're not voting for Donald Trump. You know, and you almost kind of wonder, is that a publicity stunt? Is that just I'm just doing something different just to be different? I don't know. I'm purely speculating. But... Like, you go back through, and I've never actually really had, like, a conversation about Kanye like this. I've always kind of just said...
my brain's going now.
Yeah, he's just kind of... I think the best way, like I said, like, it's a gift and a curse for him. I think... We've talked about it, that there's some people that I think are more wired, or maybe well-suited, whatever their background is, their circumstance, to... handle celebrity and fame better than others. And I don't think he's like the model for handling the level of fame he hit.
Well, here too, while we're talking this out, I'm actually happy we're doing this, because like, if you look at like my personal, maybe my last album of Kanye that I could truly sit down and listen to the entire way through, I can't say it all the way, because him and Watch the Throne was pretty fucking phenomenal. But like I'm saying, solo album, 808s and Heartbreak is just nothing but him just being open with himself about how he's been so career focused and driven that he's talking about he's got like 3 cars, but he's talking to his homie he's got 3 kids, and it's like he's always talking about how he's missing out on life. And I think that's like maybe while we're talking this out now, I think that's maybe what he like in his later life, now that he's I think 40 years old now or whatever, like maybe even a little older, 40, like he's sitting there like he really in his late 30s chased that whole family life, and maybe that's where like, cause not to be funny, he's acting like your first heartbreak type thing where it's like you remember acting maybe a little crazy. Like I'm not saying all of us do, but like I remember like at least being out of my like frame of mind, like your first heartbreak, like maybe a girl did you dirty.
No, logic and reason kind of goes out the window.
And you're crying like a little bitch, and like you're just like you think it's the end of the world. You don't think it's like. Yeah. I think that's what he's kind of showing now. It's like, I've lost my family and all this stuff that he was just always missed out on life. So he just put it on a different pedestal, and like later in his life, so he's almost like living an opposite life. Like, don't get me wrong, he definitely grew up crazy and everything. Like, shouldn't say crazy, but like grew up like on the like less more fortunate side, and clearly talks about it in his music. That's what makes him so great. But yeah, this is, I don't know, it's great. Yeah, this is literally a great.
That's a whole nother podcast in itself.
You can have a Kanye pod.
Is the Kanye West and doing like a psycho analysis.
And
of
who
Kanye
are we?
West.
Who are we to like break that down?
And that's my thing. Like, I have a ton of respect for Kanye. He's made some incredible music over the years. I think he's a genius in what he does. But it's like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a psychologist. But
and we're almost like shouting him out at how amazing he is and how big of a genius he was and a perfectionist. Because like, to real quick before we go into awards and everything, like he's literally the main producer on all of his albums. But he also has John Brion on there, who literally is almost
like a movie score.
Yeah, he's
producer.
got a bunch of. He's got a bunch of them. Like The Incredible Mind of or was it The Incredible Mind of whatever? I forget how it's been, but that Jim Carrey movie he's in, like he directed, did a lot of movies, but. Also, we see a producing job of Devo Springsteen, and then also Just Blaze, which was wild. And then, like, listen to these singles real quick, dude, because all right, nowadays artists aren't really dropping singles till like the release date or after, but like at this time, like we're talking about, he's like a grand opening of an album. So like his singles,
you'd have your lead single.
Exactly. His first single for this album came out in May, so like a couple months before, and it was Diamonds from Sierra Leone, just the original version. Yeah. And then number 2 was Gold Digger on July 5th of 2005, which that's when it really took off. And then number 3, Heard 'Em Say on November 1st, just literally a month after the releases. And then Touch the Sky, January 1st of 06. And then Drive Slow was his last single that he released on June 6th of 06. And that brings me to a point too, because we're going to kind of talk about these albums more, but his first... Like, literally, I mean, if you add Gold Digger in there for how big it was, there's a 5-song, or I guess say 4-song, because with the skits or whatever, but there's a 4-song path he has. Starts off with Heard 'Em Say with Adam Levine, which I don't care who you are. I woke up today at 5:30 to be in the gym, or actually at 5 to be in the gym at 5:30 today, and Heard 'Em Say, after the skits, first song you listen to, and I'm talking 5:15 in the morning, driving down the street, dark as fuck, and I'm sitting there like, dude, nothing could have stopped me today. Listen to opening my day up with that. Touch the Sky with Lupe Fiasco. Yep. Goes into Gold Digger, which, I know we kind of talked about how we don't like it like that, but you can't deny the commercial success of it and the power it had on the game. And then goes into, number 6 of Drive Slow with Paul Wall and GLC, which, to this day, that song maybe even stuck out more to me now, even though I used to love it. But like, you kind of understand the meaning a little bit more.
Your perspective changes.
Yeah, so like, that's a 4-song track right there in a row. It's like, dude, you could put that up with any 4 songs back to back to back. Like, I mean, maybe with a skit in the way, but that's some high power. And then for him to keep going, because if those were the 4 songs on most albums, it's so top heavy that it just dies out, and I don't know.
I will say I do think the back half of the album is not as strong as the top half.
Oh, 100%.
Just my personal preference.
I agree.
But like you said, though, I mean, just look at those first 3 songs. I mean, like there's, like you mentioned, there's artists that put out entire albums that don't have the cachet of those songs.
100%.
That aren't that pedigree of songs.
So okay, so let's get into this then. We'll start off with our awards right now.
Yep.
Because I want to start breaking them down a little bit. We'll get this one out of the way first, because I don't want to be shitting on this album. The Jackson 4 Award, which is our, like, for people that don't know, clearly Michael Jackson, greatest of all time. There's literally, and if I always say he could be easily a top 3 artist of all time. You can't argue that, but you can argue maybe the number 1 of all time. But numbers wise, he easily is. He's up there with the Beatles, all that shit. So Elvis. So if this album's Michael Jackson, like clearly Jackson 5 started him off and whatnot, but like you can't take Michael Jackson away from the Jackson 5 and it'd be good still, but you can take all 4 of the other Jacksons away, and guess what? You still got Michael, and he went on to be amazing. So if you had to keep this album as Michael Jackson, like your Jackson 4 is like your nitpicks, the things you can do without.
Yep.
And not necessarily a song anymore with that, because like if we had to pick a song, I thought two of them for me was like Bring Me Down with Brandy, like I was telling you about.
Okay.
It's like a major fuck you to all his haters and everything. That's literally what he was saying in one of his interviews.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I understand Brandy's like a pretty popular artist and stuff, but she just doesn't like hit my ear the way I wanted to. And maybe on that song, like, because I like Kanye's parts on it, but like I just thought maybe like he could have got a different girl on there.
Oh, okay. I like this take.
And then just from my point of view, because like this album's so amazing, it's tough to like actually have nitpicks on it.
Yeah.
Like my thing is, if you take Bring Me Down off there and you put Through the Wire on this album, I think it's an all-time, like literally maybe the all-time greatest album ever. Because Through the Wire is my favorite Kanye song ever. It's probably not the most popular Kanye song, but like, dude, that just the way it hits me, I don't know how to explain it. Like, clearly he's talking a little darker because like he just got in that car wreck and things like, but like, Hey Mama was pretty like real like,
yeah.
Like I don't know how to say it, like it was just real vulnerable for him. It was really like personal for him, and the reason that I would put that in there as maybe one of the songs I can do without is just because, I mean, I know 2 years later after this, in 2007, his mom died sadly, but like he wrote this song in 2000, and he actually performed it for the first time ever on Oprah in like 2003 or 2004 in front of his mom.
Okay.
And his mom like loved it so much, made it a ringtone and everything, but like I can do without it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know about you. I'm not trying to like shit on it because there's so many, like all these songs are so amazing, but. And then another nitpick of mine, not to take over, I'm just kind of like the ones that I have on top of my head. Okay. On Crack Music, I really wanted The Game to go off and like have a verse.
Yeah.
But then I actually found the verse that he had on there. That he released. They released it. It's on YouTube. I listened to it, and now I know why they didn't do it because he's good and everything. He kind of brings up his 50 like beef and everything. But for the song, Crack Music has such a deep meaning on the song. It's literally talking about like it literally opens up like how they killed the Black Panthers or whatever, and it's talking about Ronald Reagan. Even though Ronald Reagan's not the president at the time, he's the senator or whatever of California, and he lets the CIA go in and take it all out. But then he's talking about how it's nowadays it's like the addiction and everything that people need hip hop and in American culture, and also how all the artists that are getting signed, like all the black artists especially that are getting signed in by huge record labels and everything, are in his mind are being fed drugs and everything to keep them away from doing great work and to keep their mind like away. So The Game goes on there and he doesn't keep the same flow and doesn't keep the same story, so he actually ripped that verse out of there.
So The Game pretty much just does the hook.
Yeah, he's only on the hook, but he did have a verse, but it was more, it's the game at this time. Like, not to be mean to The Game, because The Game, I feel like, grows so much. Like, he evolves so much in his game, even nowadays. I love Game. Like, he even comes out with new stuff, I love listening to it. But at the time, he was such, like, not to be mean or nothing, he was just such a thug and just wanted to always talk about, like, how he kills people, how he does all these things. Yeah. Like, it's like, you know, thuggish stuff.
Well, the tone doesn't quite maybe match Kanye.
And Kanye is so big on the
have like that gangster rap.
Exactly. And Kanye is so big on like the ultimate like message of the song, which is why I really can't wait to talk about Diamonds, because Jay-Z comes on, whatever. But we'll talk about it. But he literally boots The Game's verse out of there, and I'm happy I looked it up today, and because it's out there. He released it and everything, and it just doesn't go with the flow. So that was my thing. It was like at the time, one of my nitpicks, I thought I wanted The Game to have a verse, but now that I went through and re-listened to it, like I got to find it on YouTube, I was like, okay, thank God I didn't hear it, because it was
like I mentioned off the top, like the fan in you says,
yes.
I want to hear these two on a track together.
100%.
But then you go back and like from an artistic standpoint of, well, what's this song really trying to say? And I'd never heard that verse before, but I'm glad that they did that.
Yeah, you'll have to listen to it when we're done with it. But like, just for people, you can look it up. Literally, just type in Crack Music Games verse, and it's like the first video that comes on, and it literally keeps the track and everything. And because he released it, I think himself, and released the verse, and then somebody took it and put it on the verse. And like you can tell, it's literally it goes with the flow and everything. So it's not just like one of those videos you see where they take a certain song from somebody and then add a whole different verse from a different song, and it's like, oh, I've never heard this song before. So it was really cool. So that was. It took one of my nitpicks and shoved right down my throat. So it's like, hey, guess what? It did happen, but it's like that's the reason we didn't hear it. So
so your Jackson 4. So you had a few on there.
I had a couple.
So recap.
We're changing it now. It's like, in my opinion, like instead of just one song, we're changing it just to nitpicks now, because it's like what can we do without? And the Jackson 4 we can do without. You know what I'm saying? We need Michael, but we can do without the other four. So I said my personal ones was I liked Bring Me Down. I liked the message and everything, but I kind of wish maybe a different person sang it than Brandy, just for me personally.
Okay.
And then Hey Mama, I maybe could have done without and maybe added a different song in it, but I know how important his mom is, so like it does make sense.
Okay.
I get that. And then
Yeah.
it's not really a nitpick anymore, but my original nitpick was I wanted the game to have his own verse, but then it's technically out there. So those are my 3 nitpicks that if I had anything to pick, and like I said, you could take either Bring Me Down or Hey Mama out, and if he throws Through the Wire in there, which I guess takes away from College Dropout, but you know what I'm saying.
Okay, so your nitpick. So I did pick, if I had to remove a couple songs, and it's funny because I think we both have different views on this. We're aligned on some. But My Way Home with Common, like you kind of mentioned, Kanye's not really on the song at all. I could have gone without that song.
Okay, I like that though. Yeah.
But like knowing what you just told us about it, that it kind of wasn't even really intended to be on this album. Kanye was just trying to give Common some love and like, hey, you just can't let the song fall by the wayside. I appreciate that.
And he actually produced the song too for that album, so that's why Kanye had the ability to.
And I have this. Album, I know this is maybe like a bad way of looking at it, but I kind of like have this rule that maybe I need to just scrap. But in general, like as a music fan, if a song is like under 2.5 minutes, even under like 2 minutes, it better be damn good.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
Because I judge. I'll never forget. I read DMX his autobiography. Like he kind of shit on rappers like. Yeah, your song's 2.5 minutes long. You have 2 verses and an okay hook.
Yeah.
Like you can't even rap
100%.
3 verses and your song's not even 3.5 minutes long. So I've always, for whatever reason, always kind of stuck in my head. So I was listening. I was like, wait, this song's really only 1 minute and 43 seconds. And I'm like, Common, I respect. I've never been like a huge Common fan. Like I respect. I know when it comes to like storytellers and lyricists, he's in the. He's on, I wouldn't say Mount Rushmore, but...
No, definitely not.
But
he's on the island.
I think he should be a respected artist when it comes to that. And, like, the intelligent rappers,
yes, very,
you know.
Very smart.
But I could have gone without that song. Celebration was kind of like, it's a celebration, bitches. Like, kind of like a, a little Chappelle Show thing there.
That's the, not to, like, cut you off, but I'm happy you bring that up, too, because that's the only song, other than Gold Digger, I guess, that's just... He's literally just celebrating how he gets pussy. He gets pussy. He gets happy-go-lucky. He gets weed. He gets like drugs. He gets alcohol. He gets all these things that like the common.
There wasn't a lot of depth to that song,
not at all.
I guess. So I could have gone without that one. Okay. So nitpicks. I wasn't sure when this was going to come up, but when you talked about the game and like how the verse that he maybe originally wrote for Crack Music just didn't really fit.
Yeah.
And just going back on Crack Music, I don't know if we'll bring it up again, but. I was pretty disappointed in that song. I remember being disappointed in that song. Like, man, I kind of wanted a little more from that.
100%.
Knowing that those 2 artists were on it, I was a huge Game fan at the time. Obviously, a big Kanye fan at the time. I still kind of feel the same way. Obviously, I know what the song's trying to say. I know it's got a heavy like political message behind it. But yeah, kind of let down. But in that, so going off that to where, like, I feel like a verse that just doesn't fit. Drive Slow.
Okay.
What the fuck was Paul Wall doing?
He was just trying to be smooth. Did you notice that? Like, because Paul Wall is usually trying to. Like,
okay, so I gotta. Can I go on a little rant?
Well, yeah, it's your take. Let me hear it.
This is my take. I went back and listened to this song. I was like, what is Paul Wall doing? So you got to think. This is 2005. So what's really big? All right. First of all, another thought. How many people under the age of 25 know who Paul Wall is? Because he fell off. Like.
He has 3.
Paul Wall being on a Kanye West studio album, that's like a trivia question night.
Yeah.
Like that shows up on trivia night, and how many people under 25 know who Paul Wall is? First of all, I was never a huge Paul Wall fan, but his verse, so so you have the skit right before it, and it goes great into the song like Drive Slow, and the message behind it pretty much is like look out for women who maybe don't have the best intentions, right?
Yeah, it's got multiple.
And like you said, like you get older, you go through different phases of life. That song speaks to you in different ways, and it is really funny. It's kind of like a time capsule because you got to think at this time, 2005, this was really big. And once again, I'm going to age myself when I'm going to say, but Pimp My Ride, Exhibit,
huge. Like
that whole entire culture of like tricking out your car, and like they talk about the screens dropping. and like the big wheels, and they talk about like their candy paint and things like that. Paul Wall definitely like that's
Dirty South.
He didn't have a whole lot of range in the things he rapped about. He talks about like, like what do they call in the Dirty South? Their slab? Is that what they call their cars? Slab?
Yeah.
He essentially, his verse does not really fit the song at all. And at the very end, he's like, I'm on the search for dime pieces and sexy ladies. Like, I'm posted up looking for hoes, is what he says.
Yeah, basically.
I just kind of would be like, wait, I think you're missing the message of the song here.
He missed it completely.
And you're just talking about like how your car's all dripped out and everything, and like bragging about your car, which is pretty much like straight off the Pimp My Ride show. And then you talk about how you're looking for hoes, and then the other verses, and like Kanye gets a little bit into and it kind of speaks like that doesn't age well as far as
100%,
rappers talking
100%.
about like pimping out their cars and everything. But I went back and listened to it like, what was Paul Wall doing? Like, what is this verse? And maybe, I'm a little biased because I was never a big Paul Wall fan, and I was like, wait, Paul Wall was on here? Oh my goodness, I remember this now. So my rant is over, but that would be a nitpick.
The funniest part about it, though, is that I was looking at like all the critics and everything, like all the critique from it and everything, all the notes, and there's multiple like real big time critics. I wish I'd have wrote their names down, but like literally talking about that might be Paul Wall's greatest verse ever, which is terrible.
But then like he does. I'll give him that.
He sounds
flows
nice.
Pretty well.
He sounds like he misses the message.
And kind of like going into what I was saying about like how I judge how long your verse is, how long your song is. He raps for like almost a minute, which has always kind of been like a bar for me. Like, hey, if you can rap for about a minute, that's a solid verse.
Especially for a feature.
Now again, like maybe this is like a curse I have where I read too much into lyrics and just don't sometimes just listen to the flow. Because his flow is good, but I actually like him listening to what he's saying.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, what are you talking
100%.
about? That didn't age well, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't. He rapped for almost a minute, and he had good flow, so I'll give him that. And then there was a remix with T.I.
Yeah,
Which I was going back through my old music. I was like, wait, there was a remix of that song, which I haven't listened to, and that's probably just, who knows if that was even a verse of T.I. I need to go back and listen to it. Was it just like a
I've heard it before,
verse?
But I didn't listen to it recently. I've heard it before, but I just don't remember.
Sometimes you hear those remixes and you just know there's a verse that they just threw in, and sometimes you can tell like this verse was specifically written for this remix. So yeah, I had a little tirade there on the drive slow. So I would get rid of Celebration. I would get rid of the My Way Home, and then Drive Slow. Not quite sure what was going on there.
Well, the reason, so with to go on your crack music one real quick, it's literally your point with Touchdown and with Eminem and T.I. They go back to our old pod that we just did.
Yeah.
Because we get All She Wrote, which was just fucking absolutely phenomenal.
Another song that has different verses.
Which is amazing. But that song's so good, and we've heard it before. And Wouldn't Get Far with Kanye and Game is one of the greatest rap songs ever.
Oh,
I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's literally, I think it was on the album before. So.
I forgot.
Song's it was on the Games album.
It was on the Games album.
Yeah, which is fucking phenomenal. The documentary, I'm pretty sure it was on.
Yeah.
So, which is one of the greatest rap songs of all time. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll go down with that one. So that's why I was a little upset with crack music.
Doesn't that kind of speak to the level of artists? Is that like the Game has always been heavily featured.
Yeah.
Or he's always had a lot of features.
100%.
Whereas like on a Kanye album, like, hey Game, I don't need you as much on this one.
Yeah.
But like on Game's album,
Kanye.
I kind of need Kanye a little bit more, And
100%.
That's not like a dig against Game, but I just don't think he's as on the level Kanye is.
Yeah, 100%. And then to go off your Drive Slow thing, it's like for Kanye, his whole thing is like he's first starting off by paying homage to just driving slow through the hood, just being careful because you never know what's going on, and then it turns into just taking life serious, like taking life slow and just living it up, So like. Yeah, so exactly. Your point is like Paul Wall. Flow is amazing, but misses the track.
What's Kanye say? Kanye has a line that you would never hear him say now. It's something like, "My car's like my crib. I got more TVs in here than where I live." Like,
100%.
That's just not something that cars have TVs in them now, but it's not. You don't. When was the last time you heard a rapper brag about that? It's just it's funny how
especially
things
they're
age
built
out.
into the back of cars now for kids and shit, which is real funny. So. So any more nitpicks at all? Because this album was really tough to have a nitpick on, to be honest. That's why I really kind of digging for some.
I guess
21 songs, maybe a little long. Maybe we can go to like 18 songs with the 4 skits.
You could definitely trim the fat a little bit, if you will. I feel like the theme and the overall tone, like to me, Roses, Bring Me Down, My Way Home, Hey Mama, like they're all kind of, they're not like super uplifting songs.
No.
And I don't know. I mean, I think, maybe it's not fair of me to bundle them in there together, but yeah, like I could do without. No, I don't want to cut anymore.
See, I don't want to cut them, but yeah, maybe the only other nitpick I would even come close to even having is just maybe rearrange the track list a little bit.
Like you talked about, the front of it's so strong.
Well, the skits always lead into the great, like skit number 4 leads into Gone, which is just phenomenal, and then skit number 3 leads into Hey Mama, which was kind of huge for him. I can see where he was going with.
Yeah.
So like I know the skits like lead into the songs well, but I know we could probably rearrange a little bit. But that's literally all I got for nitpicks, to be honest. And so we got the Jacks 4 out of the way, the nitpicks out of the way. So let me hear your next 4. Clearly leave the most relistenable and Andre 3K for last, and maybe LBJ MVP because I guess I could kind of maybe go with most relistenable.
Okay.
But I'll let you go crazy next.
So you just want me to pick an award?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let's go. The Jamal Crawford 6-Man Award.
Which, by the way, shouts out to Jamal. He just officially retired.
Yeah, just retired.
So
21 years?
21 seasons, yeah. I think he played 19 seasons, but I think it was 21 that he, because he was hurt for one, and then last year I don't think he played at all. So, but still.
Buckets.
So for this, not to take it away from you or whatever, it's just easier for me to kind of describe than I guess you guys. But the way I came up with this one, I mean, shouts out to the rewatchables as well, but like, this is that guy that's coming off the bench. It's not necessarily the Heard Him Say, the top 5 songs, because I think just to kind of give it a rundown, like Heard Him Say, Touch the Sky, Gold Digger, Drive Slow, Diamonds, then and even Hey Mama somehow gets not platinum with gold, but like the top 5 songs like from success, like commercial success and everything, it's like what song's coming off the bench that's like dropping you 25 points in 13 minutes. Like you're not, if this song comes like oh darn, it's gonna have to play for LeBron tonight, like oh no, like KD's playing for LeBron tonight, so like that type of thing. So now you can go with yours.
So for me, I was like, what was my 5 favorite songs? Like, what's my starting lineup?
100%.
Like, I can only pick 5 songs off here. Like, what's that one that just doesn't quite make the cut, but they're off the bench pretty quick? And you kind of said it. It's Hey Mama for me.
I like that.
Now, I know you might not feel as high about the song. You kind of alluded to it earlier. I was always real high in this song. I think for anyone, it's like a love letter to your mom. And I think for any young man who's had a relationship with their mom, I will never not think about my mom when I hear this song.
Oh, 100%.
Never not think about, and like it's relatable to me, as someone who deeply loves their mother, and mom has held a very important role in my life.
Oh yeah, why you're here.
So that would be my pick. Is Hey Mama.
And don't you like, just to kind of break that song down real quick? Don't you like how he's probably, I think, 25 years old when he releases his album, 24. He's literally he says mommy like a couple times in a row, which is like, just shows you like he's always a child to your mom. It doesn't matter, you're 40, 50, 60, you're going to be that little kid.
It kind of goes back to like to something you got to respect about Kanye is like, he had every reason growing up in South Side Chicago, he could have been that rough gangster rapper. But it takes a certain amount of vulnerability to release a song like this. Like I know Tupac had that, was it Dear Mama?
Yeah, Dear Mama, yep.
Which maybe not quite as emotional and as much like emotions on the sleeve, but there's rappers that would never come close to thinking of releasing a song like Hey Mama. Now, granted, I know Kanye's tone's different and he's not that gangster rapper, but I always respect someone who's able to maybe be a little more vulnerable and show that side of them that.
Well, that's what we talk about in all of them. I like when our favorite artists do get vulnerable, because like, especially ones that don't necessarily do all the interviews. This is your chance to get to know them even more. So, and clearly, to go back to 2022 now, it's like it means everything to Kanye, because he loses his mom 2 years later, and clearly it's the biggest thing ever. He just dropped the album Donda. So, the funny part about that, so the sample is Today Won't Come Again by Donna Elise, which was in 1972, but it also gets a sample credit on there. Is because he says life's like a box of chocolates by Forrest Gump, so Forrest Gump gets
how about
sample.
that?
So I thought that was pretty funny. So my 6-man, I guess not necessarily. Yeah, I guess your 6-man. Who's coming off the bench killing it for you? Jamal Crawford. I had down between Gone and then Late. I could have put in there, but I can't wait to talk about Late. here soon. It might not win an award, but I have some things to say about it. But I went with Gone, like with Consequence and Cameron.
Yeah.
One, not to even be funny here, Consequence. I hear him on a lot of older albums. I never really listened to him, but his features. It's one of his best features ever, and Cameron goes hard too on some of his features. So I just thought that whole song, the beat, everything about it is just phenomenal. And shouts out to Otis Redding because it's got the sample from Otis Redding. And for people that we talked about, Watch the Throne. I mean,
definitely
Otis Redding comes up huge.
Yep.
So, and I'm a huge Otis Redding guy, but to have that on there, I definitely picked Gone. I thought that was for me. It's like, hey, that's first one coming off the bench. I'm happy with it. So
I can respect that.
All right, and then all right, this is all right. So just to get this one out of the way real quick, because we always like doing it, and it's just funny because this is the first time Jamie Foxx has actually been a feature. The Jamie Foxx Award, just for like the song that, like the way I like to describe it, like we kind of already talked about. He's so versatile. He's in everywhere. So like no matter what the mood is, like what song can you listen to? And I was wondering, can you even give it to Gold Digger because Jamie Foxx is on it? Like, do you have to give it to him?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up.
Because that was what I was fighting with in my head.
I think you have to. This song is why this award was created.
Exactly. That's why I gave it to Jamie.
It has to be Gold Digger or Jamie Foxx because that was the first song that really announced that Jamie Foxx is on that very, very short list of guys who can sing, who can act, who can do it all.
Stand-up comedy.
Master entertainer, So it has to be.
Yeah, that's what. So I was gonna text
probably,
you.
Like you might not even realize if this song is probably why you created the award.
So that's why I was like 100%. I was gonna text you and be like, hey, don't even worry about writing it down, but we kind of had to because I wanted to talk about it. So I was like, even though we kind of both shit on Gold Digger, but you had to give it to because Jamie Foxx does his part. You know, he comes out and sings amazing. So that's our clear Jamie Foxx where it goes to Gold Digger because of Jamie Foxx. But so to get that one out of the way, let's this one right here is probably I'll go with the hard one. I don't want to go with the easy one yet.
Okay.
Let's go with the Jennifer Lopez Award.
Oh, okay.
Because I was gonna go.
I think you're gonna like this. Go ahead.
So if I can speak for the ones that I had up there, so the J-Lo Award, clearly we talked about it before. It's what song ages the best. Like in 05, the song was amazing. Like 05, Jennifer Lopez was phenomenally sexy, and then now 50 years old, Jennifer Lopez, phenomenally sexy. So which one ages the best? And for me, the 4 songs that I put on there were Heard 'Em Say, Drive Slow, which even though I guess Paul Wall, but the flow sounds good. But I just always love the flow of Drive Slow. Diamonds remix, and then Gone, because I just like because Gone's one of those ones that kind of, for me, stuck out more this time around, just because I'm so used to the other songs. So, I wanted to say Heard 'Em Say, but the reason I didn't go with it was because it clearly, Maroon 5 comes out with a song that Nothing Lasts Forever. Literally, he takes it from him, so that song kind of comes out again. So, but I went with Drive Slow, to be honest with you, because I think it even means more to me now too, because like I always thought back then when I listened to it, because as a young naive kid, like I really thought it was just Kanye being so afraid of car wrecks because he got in one, I thought it was a double entendre for it. But now I listen to it and it's just such a chill ass vibe. You're in your car, and especially like we're not young like that anymore, where we're like driving fast, like when you're 16 through 20, like where you're just driving fast all the time. Like I've truly been appreciating life personally. So it hit home for me where it's like, dude, just take your time in life, man. Like, there's no rush. Like, be patient, live it up, dude. Like, because guess what? We're always looking forward to that next step, that next, like, that goal, like, finish line and everything. And it's like, man, just live it up. So that's why Drive Slow got it for me.
And I know I kind of shit on that song a little earlier.
Which was completely
okay. I love that beat and the message behind the song. Minus where I think Paul Wall kind of missed the mark a little bit.
Because GLC goes pretty good. I like GLC on that. So.
I can definitely respect that. So, for me, my J-Lo award, you kind of mentioned it. For me, it's Heard 'Em Say.
I love it.
Because this was, I went from the angle of, and maybe I'm wrong, but the angle I went from was, I think this was the first time that Adam Levine showed up on a feature on like a rap song. And I remember, like, the first thing you do when you see an album is you look at the track list, right?
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I would do.
100%.
And I'd be like, whoa, Adam Levine. Like, how's this going to work,
Yeah.
And so I really like that song. Obviously, he hopped on a lot of other big kind of crossover hip hop songs through the years. I think that song's aged really well, but I just looked at it from that standpoint of Adam Levine's proven that he can be a good,
Do you know the background story of that song?
No.
I can't wait to tell you about this.
Okay.
I've always loved it ever since I heard it, because I watched an interview from Adam Levine years ago. I'm talking before we ever thought about doing this album.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on a plane. They were heading to Italy for some like award show or something.
Okay.
And Kanye was on the plane, and he had his iPod. He was jamming to music, and he never met Kanye yet. And it was right around the time that it was like literally right after. I think it might even right before College Dropout came out. So it's like that 03, 04 range where he's finally getting famous. And Kanye goes right up to Adam Levine and takes out his headphone, makes Adam Levine listen to the song, and says, "Hey man, this is this new song I'm working on." And he's like, "I need somebody to sing the hook." And literally on the fucking plane, Adam Levine was like, "Hey, I got this song which was Nothing Lasts Forever." He's like, "I got this, I got a little hook that we haven't used yet." And Adam Levine sang it to him on the plane. Song was made right then and there. And I think a week later they were in the studio.
It's kind of like the Jay-Z Big Pimpin' song.
Exactly,
right?
exactly, dude.
Kind of like one of those stories.
Yeah, or like even like not to be funny, like it's a different genre, but like picture or photo. Was it picture or photograph? Whatever one with it's picture with Kid Rock and what's her last name, Crow or something, or whatever. Who's the
I know you're talking about.
the one great, yeah. I put your picture away. Sheryl Crow. That's it. Yeah. Well, they did that within I think 20 minutes. They recorded that song and everything. It was done. And it's one of the greatest songs.
You were thinking the Nickelback song.
Yeah, photograph. Look at this photo. No, fuck that song. It's not coming on here. But yeah, I always loved that story about how just simple it was. And Adam Levine was always talking about how nice.
Now, see, I didn't know that it kind of got recycled into a later Maroon 5 song.
Yeah,
so if I knew that, I don't know if I would have said that song.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, though. Because that was going to win. That was going to win for me, too.
See, we're just learning each other here.
See, this,
learning each other up real
so
good.
you changed my whole vibe.
So you ready for this? So I had an honorable mention for a song that I think's aged the best.
Let me hear.
And it's going to be a completely different angle, right?
Let me hear.
So gas is almost $4 a gallon. Skit number 1, the very end of it, he's like, "We ain't got no car because we can't afford no gas. We broke. We broke.
Yeah.
That broke. We ain't got
We ain't got it."
So I heard that, and it transitions right into Drive Slow.
That's
so
funny.
I heard that, and I couldn't help but just be like, "Oh, that's kind of funny. Like, it makes sense to where we live in today.
And
like,
food's getting expensive too.
We don't have a car because we can't afford gas. Like that aged kind of well."
I thought it was real funny too. The other skit, because we haven't shouted all of them, but the other skit where he's talking about like, either he's chanting and he's like, "Are we gonna let her go with the guy that's got the car?" Yes, we will.
Are we gonna let our girl go with the brother that's got the car?
Oh
yes,
my
we
god,
will.
that shit's so fucking funny. But all right, so that was a J-Lo award. You can go on to the next one. I think.
All right, so for
J-Lo,
the next one, let's go with the Dr. Dre award for best beat.
Tough one, very tough one. I can't wait to hear what you got.
Okay, so I had a tough time with this one too because there are some very unique beats on here. Not a lot of like I kind of mentioned earlier, like super upbeat, like club banger beats. But that's not to say there's not some really good beats on here. And like you mentioned, Kanye, he did every beat on this album.
Every single one, yeah. And John Brion's on I think 17 of them. With him.
So co-produced some of them.
Kanye does every single one.
I mean, I got to give it to Diamonds.
I love it.
To me, one of Kanye's, it's on his Mount Rushmore for me personally of his best songs ever.
Oh yeah, it easily is. And I can't wait. We'll bring it up. It's gonna win a couple things.
So it's Diamonds remix, whatever. I mean, it's the same beat, but
doesn't matter. All right. Yeah. So here's something fun that I've been doing the last couple. I started on the Kings of Leon one, which isn't, I guess, it's not. We didn't have a Dr. Dre beat, but it was like best instrumental we went with. So what I've been doing recently is on YouTube. They have most albums have an instrumental version of it, so I've been really taking my time and diving into no lyrics and because I listen to these, I do, because I mean clearly I'm the one kind of running it, I guess, in one way, because it's on my channel and shit, so I make sure to truly give them what they deserve. So I've truly been diving deep in just instrumentals alone. That's it. Yeah. And so for the 4 that I came up with that I like just off the beat, one was Gone. Celebration, okay. Even though it's a terrible song, the beat is phenomenal. Yeah. Crack music, actually, I kind of like, because it's the closest. I do like the closest thing to a Dr. Dre West Coast beat. And then Heard 'Em Say, just the piano, dun, dun, dun. Yep. So the one that I picked actually was Celebration, because it's got that same kind of the piano beat. But if you listen to it alone, just the actual instrumental, dude, it's phenomenal. Honestly phenomenal. And the rest of them. The reason I picked that too is because it was the only one that kind of changed beat, it's not looped and everything. Yeah. So, because that's one thing, he does a phenomenal job about putting 3 samples into one beat, making it its own, which is cool. But Celebration, when I listened to him, well, which one caught my ear? Because I wanted to pick Diamonds, and because I was like, man, I think Gold Digger had a really good beat too, dude. Honestly, listening to just the instrumentals, it's like kind of what I was talking about yesterday with J. Cole. These artists, the really talented artists, are so good at making you think that the beat's even deeper than what it really is. Yeah. So when I took the lyrics away from Diamonds, it's actually the beat's like not the greatest to me. Like when I think of like a Dr. Dre award, like best beat. And it's because they're just so fucking good at rapping. Him and Jay-Z they're so good at presenting a song that it makes it sound deeper than what it is. So that's the only reason I'm not shitting on your thing, because I love that beat too. But Celebration was the one that actually won it. And if you have a chance later, I listen to just the instrumental, because you're gonna be like, oh shit, okay.
Now see, I'll admit, like I probably fell victim a little bit to like, I kind of just deferred to, well, what's my favorite song on the album, or like what do I think the best song is. And I kind of went with that, where I think you went a little deeper.
Well, that's what I've been doing, is going off like what I hear, and then I started doing that the last couple, and like I was shocked yesterday with the J. Cole one. I was like, oh my god, he does such a good job at presenting the song that like he has a bunch of just loops, and like we were talking about, no bridges, no nothing like that, and it's to like truly break it down and listen to the instrumental, you don't realize how good some of them are. So that's why, because Celebration's not going to win any of our awards for best song or nothing, so. Which actually kind of made me even a little more upset with the song after listening to it, because I'm like, the instrumental's so good, I expected more. So, so that's great Dr. Dre beat, or award there, best beat, whatnot. So, this one, let's get this one out of the way, because I think for me it's personally the easiest one, and I'll I think the 4 that I give you here, I think you'll completely agree with. So we're gonna go with the Scottie Pippen Award, best feature, best 2-man. The 4 guys that I had that could even be on here were Jay-Z. Jamie Foxx, I thought did phenomenal. Nas had a great verse, on We Major. But number 4 that I just kind of, it's like honestly an honorable mention. He's not going to win. And these aren't in order, by the way, but D. Ray Davis, just for his skits, skit work and stuff, and his Bernie Mac impression, I thought was impressive. But the one that I clearly go with, that I don't think is even close, because I think this is his greatest verse ever, I think it might be a top 10 verse of all time in rap, Jay-Z's remix to Diamonds. I don't think it's even close, dude. Not to like take it away from you or anything, like, because we were talking about, the Game gets booted off this album, or like at least his verse does, because it doesn't follow the thing. And so Diamonds from Sierra Leone. By the way, if you guys don't know, Sierra Leone is it's a country in West Africa or whatever, so it's like you don't really almost remember that. And you're like, because when I was a kid, I was like, oh, who's Sierra Leone?
It's like the diamond capital of the world.
And it's talking about how they're dirty diamonds, like they're being mined during war, and then they're being given to pay off the like intruding armies and whatnot. So Kanye does a really good job of staying on that, and then Jay-Z, I think it's one of the top 3. It's number 1 to me, but it's a top 3 verse where it's not somebody's song, but the feature comes in and just completely takes it away from him and just dogs the guy. Like, literally goes at Kanye basically too. Like, and Jay-Z goes, okay, you're rapping about political shit. Well, I'm gonna stay completely away from political shit and just talk about how amazing I am on the mic, and how amazing my record label is, and how you're lucky to be on it. And he just, I think he 2 minutes he goes.
I remember there was, I might be remembering this wrong, but it stops like mid-verse.
I got it from here. Yay, damn.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about him and Jay-Z's beef a little bit. Yeah.
And which was so flawless the way they did that. And then I remember like at this time, because they're both same record label, but they had both gotten so big. Kanye got so big so fast. There was the talk out there, like, is there beef between these two because there's such 2 big alpha males in the same record label, and I mean, a very conflicted past, I'd say. Like, I couldn't even sit here and tell you, I think they're still tight to this day, but I don't know how tight they are.
Well, to go into it real quick too, one of the biggest reasons, because Kanye, or Jay-Z, when he was like finally getting like clearly just like the king of rap at this point, he made Kanye, like he told Kanye he was going to have him come out to the Grammys and like all these shows with him and stuff and like travel with him. Made Kanye buy his own plane tickets and stuff, like literally like fucks him over. Little kids him, you know what I'm saying? He always little kids Kanye, and this is why that he did it for so long, because Jay-Z's like, hey man, you're good and all, but like,
don't forget who put you on.
Guess who dad is, you know what I'm saying? Don't forget you're never going to outbeat your dad. So like, I just thought, I mean, I don't know if that's your answer, but Jay-Z for me is clearly easily the
it's my answer too.
Okay. I was going to say,
There's no controversy here.
If it's not, like, the only cool thing, Nas did go really good, like, really well in We Major. Like, I loved his verse.
Yeah.
But, and the only really cool thing is that verse actually is pretty strongly, like, responsible for, like, squashing the beef between Jay-Z and Nas. Because Jay-Z actually says We Major and Nas's verse and everything is his favorite in this entire album. So that's one of the cool things. But
and it's like a 7.5 minute long song, which I did not remember. I did not remember that song being so long.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%.
And anytime I see Nas, I'm gonna listen just because I think he's earned that. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore. I want to give so Jay-Z on Diamond's remix. Obviously, my answer.
1,000%.
I want to give an honorable mention to Lupe Fiasco for Touch the Sky.
Phenomenal too. Which I honestly,
he's on the third verse.
I looked right over it because Jay-Z is so fucking powerful that I looked over.
But this was my introduction to Lupe Fiasco.
Oh, everybody's pretty much.
Like this was, and you always go back to like that. Like I'll never forget the first time I heard of. Was it Kendrick Lamar? What album was it?
Drake's album.
The first time I heard Kendrick Lamar was on
June.
the Games album.
Okay.
Which one was it? Was it the Red album?
It was either that or Jesus Peace. No, it had to have been the Red album. It was the Red album.
I think that was the first time I heard
it was, yeah.
Kendrick Lamar. And you always remember that first time you're introduced to an artist. Now, to me, Kendrick is, a whole other stratosphere than Lupe Fiasco, but Lupe is a very talented and big artist in his own right. So I gave him an honorable mention, just because I do really like that song.
And for being a rookie, basically, because, like, people that don't know, Lupe and Kanye grew up together. Like, not, like, in the same hood or nothing, but, like, came up in music together.
Yep.
And they were always friends, always helping each other out. So Lupe really comes up to the plate as a rookie and says, like, hey, I'm going to hit this out of the park. I'm going to at least do my thing. So, yeah, I love that call, too. Thank you for bringing that up, because I almost completely fucking forgot about it.
I thought he needed just a little, even if it was 20 seconds, he needed a little bit of love here, so...
Let's do the LBJ MVP. And this one to me is just basically your favorite. I can't say favorite. I guess it would be kind of your personal favorite, but like without this song on the album, like we're not winning the championship. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe a couple of these songs average a triple double like Russell Westbrook, and they might get the MVP. Might have a James Harden offensive career or a season that just MVP.
Yep.
You might have a unanimous decision Steph Curry thing, but like we said it before, like between 2010 to like 2018, like LeBron arguably could win MVP every single time. So, and like clearly the NBA is a market that we want to like have everybody else like jersey sales come up and things. So, and we want to give it to the next person. But without this song on the album, this song is not winning a championship. Basically, that's what we're looking at. So mine, I had 3 of them.
Okay.
First one I'll get out of the way. It's kind of I don't know if I agree with it, but like I have to at least throw it in there. Gold Digger, just for how the commercial success and how much it brought to this album, because Jesus, dude, 4 times platinum, quadruple platinum song. Like seriously, real quick, I think it sold 3.1 million in the U.S. and then sold 200K in the UK, which is just ridiculous. Oh no, I lied. 8. Holy shit, I lied. That was the wrong song. I was looking at Diamonds. It's 8 times platinum in the U.S. 8 million sales. 4 times platinum in Australia, 3 times platinum in the UK, and then platinum in Denmark, and then also gold in Italy, Germany, and New Zealand. So, like, it's the biggest song that we've ever talked about on any of these. So, like, that one, it kind of has to be up there. Maybe not for you and I, but, like, it kind of has to be up there. Diamonds remix, and then Heard 'Em Say for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, like, give it an overwhelming just every single time that they're, like... Actually, I'm changing my mind right now. After we're talking about it, I think it's Heard 'Em Say for me. Because, like, Diamonds remix is clutch, but I also still love Diamonds, just the original version. Because he still goes really well. So I was thinking there, like, Jay-Z makes it everything. But, like, Heard 'Em Say is just, for the first song you hear, too, is just so important. Like, it's one of the like, the ones that really give you hyped up.
Yeah.
Really, like, have you, like, feeling inspirational, like, after. And, like, nothing can stop you. So, yeah, last second, changing it from Diamonds remix to Heard 'Em Say.
An audible at the line of scrimmage.
And like I said, probably the true answer might be Gold Digger, because without Gold Digger, I don't know if it sells as many copies, and maybe not as... For you and I, it might be as re-listenable, but is it going to get the average person's ear? You know what I'm saying? So that's like...
Yeah, the fair weather hip-hop
technically, because I mean, LeBron's like the fair weather NBA fan, so technically you probably could give it the Gold Digger.
No, I mean, that probably is the answer, because, I mean, you could... That's probably one of the biggest songs of the 21st century as far as like mainstream success.
I mean, it really is. It really is.
So by definition of the award, that probably has to be the answer.
Yeah.
I want a different route. Just like, what song kind of like puts this over the top? Like, oh man, this song's on here too. Like, with this feature, it's We Major with.
I love it.
Yeah,
love
it's We Major with Nas and Consequence. So no, not Consequence. He's on the Gone.
Yeah, no.
There's really dope.
Yeah,
Really
really
can't.
dope.
So I can't. I don't know a whole lot of his music, but
His verse is actually really
Yeah.
good, but I thought it was Kanye for the longest.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. He kind of sounds like Kanye, so or at least old Kanye. So, no, I love that because We Major definitely deserves some shit in there. And like I said before, right before that, it's the verse that like Kanye's pretty much in charge of the reason that they're not beefing anymore, as in Nas and Jay-Z, which was one of the biggest rap beefs of all time. So that's LBJ award, which I love.
Yep. And when you have Nas on a song, I mean, probably top 5 rapper of all time.
And critics and everything, and like all the reviews and everything, that's literally why it's such a famous song, is because everybody was just looking forward to the Nas verse, because like at that time, I think it's his first verse off of his old record label, that he's like a free guy, because he says it on that. It's like literally in his verse talking about like, I'm free, I didn't know what to say, and then he just goes in, like it's literally his first couple lines. So. And
I mean, anytime you have Nas and Jay-Z on an album together, obviously with the beef that they had there for a while, at this time, that's going to get people's attention as well.
Okay, so not to like jump in front of you here, but would that win your most re-listenable song, or would it be?
Ooh. No, it would not. No, not for me.
I think Diamond's Remix for me is the most re-listenable on here.
Okay.
That's just me, because I love Jay-Z's verse. I think it's a very iconic moment in rap. It's like, I'm not kidding, man. That's one of the greatest verses you can possibly hear.
I agree. No, we're on the same page. Most re-listenable song, Diamond's
so
Remix. Like, I'm only allowed to listen to one song of his album.
It's literally you get picked one.
It's that one.
Yeah, because I had heard him say Drive Slow, Diamonds, and Gone for me. That was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this one I feel terrible too, because it's like this might win it again. So Andre 3K Award is our last award, best verse, best line, and I think we've just been saying it left and right. For me, it's Jay-Z's verse. Like, I know, like, it's easy to kind of like I'll bring it up, but like it's kind of easy to go with that route, but it's such a good like verse for real.
Here, I can pull it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can kind of pull it up.
Okay.
Because like honorable mentions too, while you're getting that up, Nas's verse was real nice, and then
What's up with you and Jay, man? Are y'all okay, man? I got it right here. The chain remains, the gang's intact. Name is mine, I'll take blame for that. Pressure's on, guess who ain't gonna crack? Pardon me, I had to laugh at that. I love that line.
He's talking about the Rocket Travolta, like all that, like, and the line, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman.
I actually wrote an entire paper in college based on that line. I'm not joking.
That line's phenomenal. I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman.
I tied it into the business, because it was for a marketing class. I tied it into the brand of LeBron James. And I knew LeBron was a big Jay-Z fan, so I was like, okay, I'll tie these together. And that's one of those lines, if you just read it on a piece of paper, it doesn't quite make sense. But then when you say it and hear it in the song, it's a little bit different.
The way he lays it down, just the cockiness in him, just like the confidence, like, man, he just kills that. So I don't know, and he kind of like definitely takes shots at Kanye, kind of making fun of, like we're saying, like making fun of the Louis Vuitton shit, like.
But then he kind of ends it talking about like people are lined up waiting for us to see us fall, to like see Rockefeller fall, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and again, it's like it's just that confident, and like how Kanye needed him. He didn't need the game, but he needed Jay-Z's verse, and that's today's Kanye might have cut Jay-Z out the song, because he didn't stick with the Diamonds from Sierra Leone like thing he was going with, the whole flow. And
with today's Kanye's ego have let Jay-Z come in and kill him on a song.
I don't know, man, but I did, like, as funny as it is, like I said, Nas' verse is real good. The whole 18 years, and on his 18th birthday, like
found out
the whole
his,
thing, like I thought that line was pretty cool, like for the whole that second verse for Gold Digger. Even though it's like we talked about, it's not the one you're gonna like listen to forever, but I did love just the way he kind of like brought up a couple funny things, and I was chuckling when I was listening to it. So so like. Those are mine. I think definitely though Jay-Z wins it for sure. It's not to like
So
That was crazy.
So I kind of zagged on this one.
I can't wait.
I kind of zagged, and I don't know how you're gonna feel about this. My favorite verse in the entire album. Maybe that's too strong. The Jay-Z verse is amazing.
What's one of your personal favorites other than that?
One of my personal favorites that you kind of not dismiss the song, but I could tell just you touched on it briefly that like maybe it's not your favorite song, is Bring Me Down, featuring Brandy.
Okay.
If you go back and listen to the song, there's only one verse.
I thought there was two, but I could be wrong.
I think it's like a minute and a half long verse from Kanye on the song. And when you go back and listen to the words of the song, and again, like this is maybe like a curse of mine that I get too deep into the verses, but I love that the line where he's like, made a mill myself, I'm still myself, I'm gonna look in the mirror if I need some help, and pretty much talking to like his haters that are always trying to bring him down. And Brandy, you mentioned that too. I remember when I saw the feature with Brandy, it was like you didn't heard of her for a long time. And she was like real big in like that late 90s kind of like pop,
Destiny's Child age.
Yeah, and so I just kind of thought it was different for Kanye. Like, who else in 2005 was having Brandy on a feature like singing the hook?
You're not lying.
So I thought that was kind of different from Kanye. I mean, and how much have you heard from Brandy since then, really? But
she sings
I think if you go back, like, I think if you're in one of those like moods where kind of like you talked about earlier, like you're feeling driven and like you can take on anything. If you really sit down and listen to the lyrics of this song, I don't know, it definitely strikes a chord with me. No, so 100%. I mean, I know that the Jay-Z verses, maybe I'm zagging here. I'm definitely zagging.
No,
that would be my pick.
I don't blame you for it, because I mean you don't want to keep saying the same things. I even felt terrible picking Jay-Z's verse, but like it's so true that like he just, it's one of the greatest rap verses of all time. Like in my opinion.
Like right before that, he says, "It's funny how these whack need my help. Wasn't around when I couldn't feed myself. Dog, if I was you, I wouldn't fill myself. Dog, if I was you, I'd kill myself. Made a mill myself, I'm still myself. I'm gonna look in the mirror if I need some help." I love that.
It's cocky.
Like
it's cocky.
That's someone who has confidence in who they are and what they've accomplished. Like, I can appreciate that.
100%.
And I think like you kind of talked about, like you go through different phases in life, and like when you're becoming your own man, and Kanye in his music has definitely gone through these phases, and like we've gone through that. As you go from your early 20s to your mid 20s to as you're coming up on your later 20s now, and you're trying to become your own man and make your own impact on the world. It's lyrics like that stick with me. So, and obviously the Jay-Z one is one of the best verses in the history of hip hop. So,
well, then, not to be funny either, like I know the Relistenable awards aren't going to be on Kanye's favorite, on his plaques and stuff, but this man was nominated for by I think it was 6 different
8 Grammys in this album, right?
He's got 8 Grammys nominations. I think he wins 2 of them. I think he gets best solo hip hop album. Wins top rap album of the year at Billboard and Grammys, and then I think Gold Digger wins it.
I think he get best solo rap performance and best
he gets solo hip hop album and solo performance, and then he wins a bunch for best foreign albums and best albums foreign, and in 06 technically, but for 05 he gets a bunch, but he gets nominated for 12 awards at 6 different award shows. So just, it's an iconic album, dude.
Is it his best album? Probably his best.
I think all right, so if we're being, I think ceiling wise it is, but there are some songs that are kind of below the bar, I would say. But for me personally, Graduation doesn't miss on any song, but there's not one song that's as good as maybe Heard Him Say, or Touch the Sky. I thought was phenomenal. Drive Slow for me is phenomenal. Diamonds from Sierra Leone, those are iconic songs for him that I don't know, because Graduation's pretty phenomenal, and College Dropout was good, but College Dropout also had a couple misses there, but I don't know. I mean, it's his first album, but, and then even if you're in your mood, if you're in a soft mood, 808s and Heartbreak doesn't miss either on some songs.
No,
but
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, to me that was his last really solid.
Album. That's a phenomenal album.
His last really solid.
I thought that
album.
came out before 808s, but it didn't. Did it? It came out.
I think it was
before.
right after.
Yeah, it was right after. Yeah, so maybe I don't know. That's a tough one. I think possibly it could be, depending on who you are. This could be like, because a lot of people hate new Kanye and love old Kanye.
See, I'm looking at the track list for Graduation right now. I mean, and that's an album in itself. I mean, that's another relistable right there.
Oh yeah, I want to listen to that one again because there's so many songs.
You talk about for a first 3 albums for an artist.
Maybe first 4.
Yeah, I mean it's.
But I know what you're saying. First 3, especially for the way he has them. Like
there is a part of me that kind of feels. Maybe this is just my own perception of Kanye, but I think there's a part of me that feels kind of bad for him, that I don't think his music maybe gets the love it deserves because of some of the stuff he's done outside of the booth. Is that I know we talked about that earlier.
Mixed into the world nowadays where it's all like any recency bias, you know, it's like we need it now, like what's new, we don't want to keep listening to old music, like, because you and I are outside the box when it comes to that. I don't know many people that like listen to old music, like to listen to an album's tough too, so like that's why I agree with you 100%, like because I know a lot of people after starting with Yeezus, like I know a lot of people started really hating Kanye's music, and Donda was terrible, not to be mean, there was like 2 or 3 songs on there that I could listen to, but and then he had that
there's another Donda now too.
Donda 2's coming out. I don't know.
And then I'll be honest, that Jesus is King album, I don't think I listened to it
at all. I didn't listen to it either. I listened to a couple songs and I was like, no, this ain't it. But I'm also not a churchgoer and stuff like that, so I don't know. I'm not religious, but that was a huge religious album. So yeah, but I mean, this is why we did one of his older albums. Is why it fits so perfect into it to go full circle. Is like he's getting so much hate nowadays and stuff, and like getting all this clout and everything from just being outside of music. And it's like this is what got him there, and this is what takes him back to his his roots.
I hope. I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but I wish he could get back to this kind of music.
I don't know if it's possible. Like that's the same thing with like you and I with Eminem. Like his last couple albums aren't the greatest, and I don't think he'll ever go back to old M. But we had so many great Eminem albums that it's like that was the whole point. Like he's probably never, because he'd have to literally go broke again and go like literally have to relive his life.
And I mean, there's a whole nother. I mean, that's a whole other podcast in itself. Is how like your music changes as you change.
We talked about on 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Get Rich or Die Trying. Like that was such a hungry artist, such a like nothing was stopping him from making that album. Like it was meant to be. So
I think he's showing up at the Super Bowl and people are making fun of him that like 50 Cent ate 50 Cent.
That was so
he's
upsetting.
Hanging up.
That's so upsetting. I mean, Dr. Dre's not looking that great either. You know what I'm saying? Like what the hell? Snoop looks like older than all of them. He's younger than all of them.
Snoop's looking rough, man.
But he's Snoop, rough. So everybody loves Snoop. But yeah, so I agree, dude. The one thing I think we forgot to say, the artwork, the album artwork, which will already be up at some point, it was phenomenal. I wish I would.
We had the teddy bear. It was like his mascot.
The Kanye's teddy bear, which is we seen on Graduation too, where we just show, but like it's him opening up the doors, like, hey motherfuckers, I'm here. So.
I remember in the album, like the physical album itself, you could buy T-shirts. I remember College Dropout. They had the teddy bear, the head, and it said like the College Dropout, and they had different color shirts you could buy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I kick myself for not buying one of those. I mean, I'm sure now you probably sell that thing for a few $100s on eBay. But like artists, they just don't do that kind of stuff anymore.
No, not at all. And I mean, he's Mr. Fashion, so it kind of makes sense that he did that. But
yeah, it was like foreshadowing to what.
100%. 100%. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna go off all the samples. He has 4 or 5, like 3 to.
Well, you have like 4 pages just full of them right there.
Well, these are just the songs, but like literally I wrote samples down on every single one, and he's got at least in every single song he's got at least 2 samples, up to 4 samples in a song. But like some of them that I thought was cool, it was like looking back at like all the samples, it showed you what songs sampled that song. So like Cudi has like 3 or 4 of my favorite songs ever that he's like sampled from these songs, and like some of the biggest artists ever that go through, and like I remember seeing A$AP Rocky on there, sampled a couple. Like there's a bunch that people go on and sample on this album. So anything at all real quick before we close? I thought we did a fucking amazing job. We really go in depth on this. So.
I hope we gave this. I hope that our viewers feel that we gave this the love it deserves, because this is, I think, truly like one of the best hip-hop albums
100%.
Of the 21st century.
100%. Like we kind of talked about too, it's like he definitely kills it lyrically and everything, and he has like his 7 to 9 songs or maybe even 10 songs on there that like the meaning is amazing. But there are the songs on there that like not necessarily have like the greatest like lyrics technically, but like it's and like we said, celebration's kind of like lame and all that. Like, but Hey Mama means so much to him. So like, it's a dope album. I love it a lot. Yeah. Like, so. Man, thank you so much again for being on this, dude. Seriously, I can't wait to do another one. I'm already hyped on it.
Appreciate the chance, man.
But yeah, this has been the Relistenables. You guys won't see this for probably a couple weeks technically, but we won't say the date anymore because it's just nice to have them on the back burner because I got like a bunch coming out. So yeah, I hope we can do it again, dude. Too. Seriously, thank you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Relistenables, baby. Whoop. Oh, click the wrong button.